acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
To do a dialogue animation, the very first thing that you receive is your voiceover recording. Let's look at our recording for this example.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
The next step is to analyze your voiceover, which is your dialogue. We need to break them into different emotion parts. You acted like somehow, okay, is one part of the emotion. It was my fault. Okay, it's another emotion. It really depends on how you want to do your dialogue animation. This is a sad moment. And then this is, it was my fault, it become angry. In my perspective, this is how I look at this dialogue. Okay, so next you need to know which is the words that you need to emphasize on it. In this case, act is somehow emphasized on it. And it was my fault. There's an accent on it. Look at the recording again.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
So you acted like somehow it was my fault. These two words enhance our dialogue. Then you are going to shoot your own reference in front of the camera. In this case, I'm not going to shoot my own reference, but I got a clip on the actual movie clip.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
So we will try to animate using this recording. During the blogging stage, we always think of the main key pose. So which is our main key poses? You can go with your body key poses first, like the same as your body mechanic exercise. You need to think of which is your contact pose, which is your extreme pose, the action that shows. In a dialogue animation where the body didn't move much,
you acted like somehow it was my fault.
Okay, so in this case, when you look back at your analyze of your dialogue, so act and mind is the one that you should do the key poses first. Okay, in this case, we want to do our dialogue key poses, which is your act. Here, we want to do one key poses. Okay, at frame 7. Then the second one will be around 44. Okay, so take note of these key poses. This is one way you can start your main key poses. Another way is to look at your emotion. So you is the start of the sad pose. And then at the back, it was my fault. She become very angry. Okay, so you can start your first key pose at you, second key pose at it. Okay, you can do these key poses. It was. So another key poses here. Okay, so there are no direct way that you can start your animation of your dialogue as long you know what you are doing. So this is how I do my setup.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Then I'll put some handle, that means a few frame of nothing behind and in front of it. Okay, this is to have some space for me to add in some animation if I want to. So we are going to do our first pose, which is when the animation starts at 22. So you don't need to actually follow your reference as long you get the feeling out of it. So this feeling at the first part of it is she is very sad. Okay, so we're going to create that sad feeling. So we'll do our first pose, start with the body mechanic. Okay, once we have the body set up, we will do the face. Okay, after we are done with the first pose, the sad feeling, the second feeling that I want to do is
it was my fault.
Here, she will be a bit angry. At the same time, why is it my fault like this kind of feeling? Okay, so let's create that kind of emotion. Okay, we have done with the second pose. Okay, sad feeling. And we have a why do you accuse me feeling. Now we need to think of which pose you want to add. So in this case, for this animation wise, the body did not move much. So only maybe the my fault, I will bend down a bit. Next, you want to do the facial. For me personally, I will start with the mouth shape first. So we have the base mouth shape, so I can get the feeling of how she speaks. So now I will do a quick lip sync. Okay, I will not go into details, so I will skip ahead for the lip sync.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Currently it's floating
Acted
around
like somehow it was my
because we only have these two poses. The first
like
thing is
somehow it was
to get these poses timing first.
somehow
We will create a moving hole for 22. Maybe we'll copy until 58. So the moving hole of these two, 22 to 58, instead of this
you acted like somehow it
firm
was
freeze,
my
like the whole body mechanic is
you
freezing.
acted like somehow it was my
Okay, we need to add in some movement. That's why we call a moving hole.
you acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
So these two poles are just a bit different. That's why we call a moving hole. This will be called a pose to pose. After the pose to pose, this 64 onward, pose is freeze there. So we need to create another moving hole to 80.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Now we have the moving hole. It's time to add a bit of details blogging inside. Look at our reference and see what type of details we can add in.
You acted like some
Like you acted the hand that is going up and down. From here to here is up. The up pose first.
you acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow
We have the details of this one, and we look at what are the things that we can add
like
in.
somehow
Over here, you can
acted
see
like
her
somehow
head
it was my
is
fault.
somehow is shaking.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
So let's do the head shake, starting from the head itself, and you look at our axis, mostly Y rotation. Okay, but when we rotate Y, look at our axis over here, it actually affects all the value. So it's very hard for us to clean up the curve editor. So what we can do is we go to our graph editor. We only want the Y rotation. Use the head Y rotation and do the animation for the shaking of head. This is the most extreme pose of this left. Okay, you need to go left and then right. What you need to take note is the most extreme point of the left and most extreme point of the right. Starting from 22, go left, 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 and right. This is the most extreme point. So we will select our head Y rotation. This is the extreme point. Extreme point of left side, and then continue left, 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 left. Be at here. Okay, then you go a bit this side. Okay, later we will adjust the curve strength. So over here, you will go back again. And then over here, you'll go up again. So we have add in our head shaking. Okay, let's look at our main cam.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Now
Somehow
the
it was
shaking
my
is
fault.
very
You
constant.
acted like somehow it was my
So
fault.
we need to spice things up. So over here, animation should be straight. Okay, we will change our graph. We will change to weighted tangent so we can push our curve up a bit. Okay, so now it look a bit more interesting. Here you can break connection, break tangent. Let's look at it.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
When you shake the head, remember, when you shake the head, you always affect the lower body. We need to think of which part we want to animate. I think the chest, we will try to animate the chest together with the head. So we need to take the head keyframe, use the head and the chest, only the Y rotation. Okay, now we can play with that. Okay, you shouldn't touch a lot with this because this is the part where you go pose to pose. Okay, so let's start from here, this Y rotation. Let's start by deleting these two. Okay, after that, we go this keyframe, insert key. Okay, push them down a bit. Over here, push them up a bit. Your curve should look almost the same, identical, because this is from pose to pose. It will continue the shaking from here after it done the pose to pose. Body and head shouldn't move together. so they are landing at the same keyframe, okay, which is wrong. We need to offset them. Okay, so we will select this part or the body part that is haven't offset. Okay, until here you will see your body actually offset by 2 frames. Okay, so we will maybe offset them together by 2 frames or so. You will feel that offset feeling. Same for this until the end. We will offset them by 2 frames.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Now it looks
My
a bit
fault,
more
my
flexible. But the value, I think we can reduce them some more. Over here, we can reduce them.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
We have done overlapping for the chest, but
You
somehow
acted like somehow it was
the
my
hand look like he's sticking
acted
on
like
them.
acted like somehow it was my fault.
We need to do something about our hand
Like
to make
somehow
it more organic feeling.
you You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
Okay, so we need to
Acted like
add in
somehow
some
it
more
was my
details
fault.
for the my fault part, because that is the most highest climax, okay, of the emotion. It was my fault. Okay, so we need to add the emotion in. So I would like here to breathe her to breathe in more, then shout my fault.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. You acted like somehow it was my fault.
And finally, let's go on to do our facial, starting from the eyes and eyebrow.
You acted like somehow it was my fault.
So let's keep these eyes and eyebrow the same throughout the
Acted
first
like
part
somehow
of
it
the animation
was-
until over here where she breathed out
was
and
my-
in. Then we change to another expression. So we have 2 expressions over here.
You acted like somehow it was my fault. 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 You acted like somehow it was my fault.
If you guys enjoy my video, do remember to like, share and subscribe, as I will be posting more video in the future. Take care.